The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. It's nice to be back after a week off, and we're going to be better than ever because Bob Bleier, the Hall of Famer, is here joining us to talk a little football.
Great to be here. Patty, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Come on.
What are you wearing?
Oh, obviously, the greatest Chicago Bull in franchise history, Kirk Heinrich.
Of course.
Well, I mean, Jordan got one run. They brought Heinrich back for two. I'm just saying.
All righty. Hey, great wild card weekend of football. A lot of compelling stories and stuff. Without being specific to plays or anything, what's your takeaway with the teams that advance and the teams that are left out there?
It's kind of nice to see some of the teams that haven't been there in quite some time.
7 of the 8 are new in the round of 8.
That's kind of exciting I think it brings a whole new group of fans and people squeezing for other teams because the favorites are gone with the Saints and the Patriots out now. So I think it's going to be a really interesting playoff. I don't know if the 1 seeds are going to keep going. I wouldn't want to play the Titans right now.
Old style football, what strikes me is it reverted back. The game took a page 20 years ago. They're running the ball and they're playing defense, and that's what's winning games.
Well, but you see the same thing happen in other sports, like hockey, for example. You have these high-flying offensive teams dominated all season long, and the playoffs show up, and it takes grit again. I feel like the same thing's happening in football. Plus, I mean, we've talked about a changing of the guard for the last 2 years. These coaches that know exactly what they're doing and know how to stop absolutely everything and, exploit other weaknesses. Well, you have these new guys with new ideas and new coordinators who have watched these coaches for years and years that haven't evolved themselves, that are now finding weaknesses in these things that have worked forever and ever. It's really refreshing. Add to that the list of free agent quarterbacks that are available and teams that don't have quarterbacks under contract next year. This thing, in a matter of 2 years, could be completely upside down from what we're used to.
To all those points, what's the most important thing as you get to this point in the season for a football team to be able to manage?
I think it's coachability. I really do. Look at all the coaches that are gone after the weeks they lost. Dallas, Carolina.
New Orleans, Sean Payton is considered one of the best, and
right.
He got out-coached.
Right, 100% got out-coached. It's kind of ironic that the teams that you expect to be there at the end, like to Pat's point, all these young coaches are coming up with some really great schemes, great misdirection. There's trick plays all the time in the NFL now. There's so many teams running trick plays. That's how it used to be. It's fun to watch. It's exciting. And I like the new style of football, run first and pass second instead of pass first and run second.
That play, we're getting ahead of ourselves with the Bills, but I just love that. I thought that was a page right out of the Patriots playbook where they always have one play, and that pass to Allen that works.
Situational. Mm-hmm.
Hey, where was that play last week for the Patriots? I missed that play, that one play that always has a...
Well, they had one. It didn't work.
No, it didn't. It didn't work. I did enjoy watching that game on your behalf. No, but to your point,
I saw he played for the Patriots.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, excuse me.
Silently squeeze.
To your point, right, about the changing the guard and the young guys coming up and everything. I saw a statistic last week. It was Brady had 30 playoff wins under his belt, and every other quarterback that was playing that weekend had one
combined.
Yeah, 4 starts, 1 compared to his 30 wins and 48 starts. Blah 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 blah. What is most exciting about the rest of these playoffs is we have no idea what's going to happen. The script isn't written. The Saints aren't there to get to the championship game. The Patriots aren't there to find a way to pull it out in the Super Bowl. It is all a mystery, and that's when sports is the best.
The one team that intrigues me is the Packers. What do you think about Green Bay?
How quiet was their season, too? You win on defense. I think their defense is playing great. Rodgers always surprises me when he looks like he's down and out. He always makes the big play, makes the right read. He's a winner. He's a winner through and through. So I can't discount the Packers, and I don't know if the 49ers are for real as they enter the playoffs. I know they had a bye week. They're home now. It's going to get really interesting, like Pat said. There's no script written at this point in time.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, talking Buffalo Bills next.
The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the mighty Genesee Brewhouse. Well, I came away from the Bills game thinking, there was a great season, good, wasn't a great finish, but they weren't going to get past this round anyway. So I came thinking, tough way to end the season, but a great season.
What do you mean they weren't going to get past this round? They should have gotten past this round. They got past...
I mean this coming round.
Oh, this coming round. I disagree with that as well. And listen, I've been on a heater lately. Everything I say is coming true.
And it kind of is.
I do truly believe that with what was left over, because we would have gone to Kansas City, we would have gone to Baltimore. Buffalo matches up well against both of those teams. It seemed to me that this season, the way everything laid out, the way everyone was playing, it was a season of destiny. And I legitimately felt that way at halftime. You were completely shutting down this Texans offense. I mean, for God's sakes, when it comes to this game, the thing that was the most frustrating for me, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent here,
it's okay.
You wasted one of the greatest defensive individual efforts in Buffalo Bills history. Jerry Hughes, with what we find out now, has torn tendons in his wrist and his hand, had 3 sacks. You got 7 sacks from that defense on Deshaun Watson.
You got to win.
How do they let it slip away? But to your point, as disappointing as it is, you're right. I'm not upset about how the season went, and it's a huge step forward that they needed.
And the thing is, I think next year, and we've talked about the schedule coming up, which is brutal. They got both the Western divisions. It's never going to feel as good, I think, because now the level of expectations is going to be raised for this team, and we're going to grind next year as opposed to just sitting back and saying, this was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great run, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really was. And like to Pat's point, the defense played amazing. And I think defense wins division titles. I think defense wins championships. I was a little disappointed in the wide receiver play over the weekend. I really, really was. Josh Allen wasn't on point in the second half. I don't know if they made adjustments against him or redesigned some of the schemes, the blitz schemes or what have you, but he looked like a deer in headlights to me. He really did that second half. But nobody stepped up and really made a big play. 16-0 at halftime, you think they're going to roll to the win. But kudos to...
Is anyone shocked about that lateral? As much as when he threw that, I said, that's to his point. He has totally lost his mind.
All right, I have to say something. I know a lot of Bills fans are upset with the way that Josh Allen plays. Feast or famine Josh Allen, right? I love it. I hope he never changes. And I know it's not great for this team, but when I watch him play, knowing that when that ball goes up or when he takes off, it's either a 40-yard gain or he's going to throw the ball sideways for no reason, it makes me feel alive. Like, I'm alive again, man. Like, I love that kid. Never change. Keep doing it, and we'll just find a way to win. Just keep doing it, man.
Now, there is a positive side to that, because the first thing I thought of when you did that, I said the only other person I could think that would even attempt that was Brett Favre.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being a 3-time MVP and a Hall of Famer.
Well, he also was almost benched in his first start by Mike Holmgren. We've seen that audio of, go get the kid. Wait a minute. And then it ends up working out. But, yeah, to your wide receiver point, I blame this loss on Bills fans, and here's why. In the 3 here's the 3 weeks leading up, and you guys saw this too. Bills fans were calling for wide receiver Duke Williams to be activated in play all second half of the season after he had that game winner in Tennessee. They activated him for this playoff game for the first time in weeks. Duke Williams, somehow was the most targeted wide receiver in the NFL in the wild card round of the playoffs, and he caught the lowest percentage of balls thrown at him. You had a good thing going with John Brown. You had a good thing going with Cole Beasley. You inserted this new piece in, and it might have been what lost you the game. I love Duke Williams, but for God's sakes, why would you not go with what got you there?
Is that why you don't coach a football team by referendum?
You can't overcoach. I think part of their problem was Singletary didn't have enough touches.
Agreed.
In the second half. He was so dynamic the first half. He runs so low to the ground. He sheds a lot of tackles, and he's a big play guy that can get the ball in the end zone anytime he touches the ball.
You've never been a big fan of McDermott's in-game operation.
In all honesty, I didn't hate what happened in that game.
But these are his calls.
Yes, well, okay, offensively.
The Singletary and what you were saying about Duke.
Singletary, I don't understand, but I get, okay, you got a young quarterback. They were also behind the chains a ton. They took some penalties in the second half where you had to throw the ball 46 times, plus you're in overtime. I understand why McDermott was playing offensively conservative, thinking his defense would get the job done. You shut them down in the first half. You don't have to play aggressive, and you've been winning on your defensive laurels. It bit you in the you-know-where in the most important part possible. And hopefully, as much as I have yelled about McDermott's in-game coaching, that game is what teaches him the lesson he needed to learn moving forward.
Yeah. Thumbs up on the team for the season as we, because starting next week, we start to break down the next year.
Exactly.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, it's next.
Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, the idea of Tom Brady playing for another team or whatever Tom Brady decides he's going to do next year.
I think Tom Brady does what Tom Brady wants. He says today that he's still going strong and he wants to play to 45. I think in his own mind he's got a lot to prove for his overall career statistics. I think that's part of the deal too, is he wants to be the best of all time. I think he is the GOAT with all the Super Bowls he has. But if he doesn't stay in New England, I would hate to see him go in the Hall of Fame in another jersey.
Oh, that won't happen. Well, I don't mean that he won't play.
Oh, you're getting scared, buddy? What
I
are
would
you
hate
afraid
to
of?
see that.
It's because it's the Hall of Fame's decision. It's really not his.
I'm just taking it out of my hands, whatever.
No, look, you played professional quarterback. What at this point in your career, you didn't get that far, obviously.
I only got 5
what
votes for the Hall of Fame.
motivates him? Yeah?
What motivates
For the
you?
Aquinas Hall of Fame?
I think what motivates you at this point is another title. He's got everything he could possibly want. And I'll be the first one to admit he threw a lot of balls in the ground, a lot of overthrows in the playoffs. When he hears that, I think his motivation is to prove people wrong.
Look, you've been programmed for 20 years to hate this guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I hate him. I don't think anything's going to happen. Like, it's another one of these, oh, look, it's over. It's not. It makes perfect sense for him to sign a one-year deal every year for the rest of his career till he's done. New England has no heir apparent. They don't have a pick high enough to go get a quarterback that could be effective next season. Bill Belichick is not going to waste the defense that he has put together on some question mark quarterback. He's going to sign with the Patriots. It's going to be a low-price deal so they can go bring somebody else in. All of this is for nothing. There is no way that Tom Brady, even Tom Brady, is arrogant enough that he thinks he can walk into Carolina or Indianapolis or San Diego and have the success that he had in New England. Everything is going to say status quo, and it's going to be a year-by-year thing until he decides he's finished.
His OC is part of that whole deal too. I mean, come on.
McDaniels,
Yeah, I mean,
But do you see him as being that team as being a serious factor next year?
Yeah, with
or without him?
With that defense, anything's possible. I think with him, they're more of a factor than without him, only because you have the familiarity of all of the players that he's been with, and Belichick knows him and all of. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, and there's nothing that says that he doesn't come back, figure out a way to play better as a game manager. I think that's what hurt him the most this season, is he tried to do more than he could.
Agreed.
If he looks within himself and understands this is the quarterback I am now, you've got problems again.
Like it or not, the coaching hiring process in the NFL, we're seeing just like a variety of stuff going on.
I mean, there's 1,000 different things you can say here, right? It seems like every team has their guy. I don't know what the hell the Giants are doing. Are you speaking more to the Cowboys and what happened there?
More to the 7-year contract given to a college coach, and then the Giants reacting to that by hiring a guy who, as a New England Patriots follower, had never heard of.
Well, the Panthers giving 7 years to Matt Rule is Dan Snyder in Washington all over again. This guy just wants to be an NFL owner. He's brand new. This is what you're going to get because you're my guy. The Giants, holy crap. What are you thinking? Just because he has a
special teams coordinator.
Yes. Now, Belichick, for years, has stood up and screamed, you should be considering more special teams coordinators as head coaches. That being said, he was also the wide receivers coach. And if there was one area of that New England team that underachieved this season, it was wide receivers. It's because he has a Patriots emblem. The Giants are not good at this. It's going to be a disaster.
Then the last 7-year contract to a guy who's never coached or coordinated in the NFL. Is that possible to work out?
Completely mind-blowing. I think the last time that happened, who was that Dallas coach that came from Miami? Jimmy Johnson. who knows?
So
what's
it can
gonna-
work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it has worked before, but I mean, I think that's the exception, not the rule. I truly do. That
rule, I get it.
price
That's
tag.
pretty good.
He didn't mean to do it, but it was still.
Oh, touche. But the price tag was ridiculous. You had a $2.5 million signing bonus. That's what players get. And a $62 million 7-year deal. That's unbelievable. That's mind-boggling.
All right. We are the Rochester Press Box. We are presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is next.
And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one.
When Girl Scout ingenuity meets Dunkin' coffee, you get a cup of can-do. Girl Scout cookie-inspired flavors are at Dunkin'. Try Thin Mints and Coconut Caramel today. And get a medium latte or cappuccino for $2 from 2 to 6 p.m. America runs on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
I am very torn right now because I'm a diehard Buffalo Sabres fan, also a diehard Rochester Americans fan. It's a tale of two seasons with these teams. The Sabres, with the injuries they've had, snake-bitten, they seem to be falling off a little bit. Meanwhile, the Amerks, although they hit a bit of a rough patch, are holding things together with head coach Chris Taylor back again. 2 All-Stars, by the way, which brings me to my next point. Lawrence Pilot, defenseman, who is supposed to play in the All-Star game for the Amerks when that comes up, was just called up to Buffalo as we tape this show. They traded away Marco Scandella, the defenseman. We're at a point in the season where if the Sabres want to make a push, they have to do something differently. Either make a trade or start to rely on the young guys that they've been breeding for a long time down in Rochester. A couple are already up. Olofsson started the season in Buffalo. Despite being hurt, he's had a heck of a season. Rasmus Asplund is up. Now you bring Pilot up when you really didn't need to bring a defenseman up. I want the Sabres to take a step forward. But I'm at the point now where we've seen it so many times, I don't know if I want it to be at the expense of the Rochester Americans. For example, the Sabres brought up Lawrence Pilot on Monday. They don't play till Thursday. He missed a game to play with the Rochester Americans to skate and practice with a team that could put him back down by the next time the Sabres play again. I don't know what I am right now more, a Sabres fan or an Amerks fan, but it makes me uncomfortable what's happening here in Rochester.
How many of us watched the opening kickoff of the second half of the Bills game where the referees made an intent call thinking they were in the heads of the kick returner? When the returner fields the ball in the end zone, in my opinion and in everyone else's opinion, when that ball is received, there's an intent to run the ball out. In the previous 4 or 5 kickoffs in the game, when a return man waves his hand sideways and doesn't go towards the ball, that's not intent to return the ball and it goes through the end zone. Once that player returned the ball, the referee did not blow the whistle, ball on the ground, Bills recover, should have been a touchdown. Big changing point in the game, and in my opinion, as an NFL kick returner, you need to know the rule, and when the referees step in and begin intent or what players are thinking at the moment, I think we're in a big problem with the NFL.
3 weeks ago, I said this out loud, but there was no one there to hear it. Pretty much the story of my life. But 3 weeks ago, the Buffalo Bills became the team to beat in the American Football League East, American Conference East. That was the day. It wasn't because anything the Buffalo Bills did. You remember that was the day that they lost to the New York Jets in a game that didn't mean anything. It was what was happening up in Foxborough. The Patriots were playing the Miami Dolphins in the game that the Patriots need to win to secure a bye. They'd still be playing this week if they'd won this game. They were 17-point favorites. They were at home. They were playing against a team that they had walloped earlier in the season and had nothing really to play for. And they lose that game. They lost that game. When you look now at the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots and that day forward, the Bills have a very competitive roster with the Patriots. That's saying at the very least. They have more draft picks. They have more cap room. They are well run. Their trajectory is up and the Patriots is down. There's no question in my mind that the Buffalo Bills ought to be the favorite in the division next year. December 28th, the day the worm turned in the AFC East. Unfinished Business brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'.
What'd I tell you? What did I tell you 2 weeks ago? Wearing my Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey
That's what I meant to
with
bring
my
that up.
beard. I'm just saying. I said it. If there is a man I need to win a game to save my life, and he is unaware that he's playing to save my life, it's always Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He called the outcome of that Dolphin Patriots game.
I squeeze so hard for him when he's out there.
Bobby, thanks for joining us. Great as always. Appreciate it. Hall of Famer. Aquinas Hall of Fame.
Good to be here, guys.
You ought to be in the Aquinas
Give me
Hall.
some time. I'm sure they're going to call me soon. I'm sure.
Thanks for joining us. See you next week with the Rochester Press Box.